South Africa is another country on Donald Trump's radar, and many people in this country are very upset about it. And so because South Africa is on his radar, they too will be getting funding cut.
US President Donald Trump says that South Africa's leadership is doing some terrible things after threatening to cut off all future funding to South Africa over its land expropriation policies. Now, in a post on his media platform Truth Social, Trump said that South Africa was confiscating land and treating certain classes of people very badly.
And Donald Trump gives a particular reason as to why this is the case.
Mr. President, you said, so on Truth Social, you said that you were going to cut aid from South Africa. Will you plan to cut aid across other African nations, and why South Africa?
No, it's only South Africa. Terrible things are happening in South Africa. The leadership is doing some terrible things, horrible things. So that's under investigation right now. We'll make a determination. And until such time as we find out what South Africa is doing, they're taking away land, they're confiscating land, and actually they're doing things that are perhaps far worse than that.
Now, South Africa is in a very interesting situation. On one hand, they receive money from the United States. On the other hand, they're involved in BRICS, which initially was Brazil, Russia, India, and China, and then South Africa got added later. Now, China spends the most money in BRICS, and South Africa is not really financially contributing to BRICS. However, they are really close to Russia, and that might be important later on in the video. But this is the case. Donald Trump is saying, hey, listen, we're cutting funding to you, and the reason why you're doing it is because you guys are mishandling a certain group over there in South Africa. What is he talking about? He most likely is referring to the fact that there are whites in South Africa that are not getting their land back. And so because of that, South Africa must be penalized. That is what he's saying. South Africa has made it legal for land appropriation to happen under certain circumstances. And so when they got this news that they are no longer going to be considered as part of the United States aid package, they said this.
With this standing threat that, because you passed an Exploration Act, therefore Trump will withhold funding to South Africa. And they said, let's not mobilize Africa. Let's withhold minerals to US. That is it. If they don't give us money, let's not give them minerals. But the reality, they take our minerals, but say why we're withdrawing funding. No, we have minerals in the continent. And therefore we have something that we have. We're not just beggars, but we must just use that endowment for our benefit as a continent. But if as a continent, we are frightened, we fear everything, we are going to collapse, and will collapse with minerals at our doorstep. So my appeal is that Africa is the world's richest mining jurisdiction. And that issue is an issue that we must internalize as a continent, use it to our advantage.
Now, this is true. The United States does receive minerals from South Africa, a lot of them. And so what the guy is saying is, we are going to not let you have any minerals if you don't give us aid. Here's the question that I would have for him. The United States does not want to give you aid, but you are in an alliance with BRICS, Brazil, India, China, and Russia. And you know that the United States has a problem with Russia, but you can't get any money from Russia, although you are in alliance with them. Now, there are other countries who are also involved in BRICS as well, but the main thing that I see here is Elon Musk. Elon Musk is running Doge right now. And you must believe that Elon Musk, who is South African, is probably upset with the land appropriation happening in South Africa. So he's getting in Donald Trump's ear, because Donald Trump wouldn't really care about anything like this, but he does now. And so he's saying, hey, listen, we got to put some level of cutting aid to South Africa because they don't want to give whites their land back in the country. Now, the response that South Africa is saying is, we're not going to give you any minerals. I like their response, okay? Their response is good. Here's the issue. Many countries in BRICS don't like each other, all right? India and China have a border dispute. Brazil and Russia are so far from each other, they have no reason to trade. China spends all of the money for the most part in BRICS. And we all know that there's not going to be a lot of unification going on when it comes to African countries getting on one accord. Right now, as we speak, there is a big conflict between Rwanda and Congo, which I don't really want to get into detail about. Africa is not as united as it should be, or it will be, or whatever the case. The African Union is having an issue with even getting the Africa Free Trade Agreement together, which sucks, all right? Like, I live in East Africa, and East Africa is a little bit better than certain parts of Africa. Like, it's kind of easy to go to Kenya, Uganda, and Rwanda. But at one point, I could just pay a $100 visa, and I can go to Uganda, Rwanda, and Kenya. But I no longer can do that because that is no longer the case, because Kenya changed to something different, Rwanda changed to something different. So now you need to buy 3 different visas if you're going there, because that's how it is, right? So if you can't even do that, good luck on getting the African countries together and saying, hey, we're not going to sell the United States minerals. And the reason why is because somebody's always going to sell out, and they're going to basically sell those minerals anyway for the low. And that's the reason why the United States can say, listen, give those whites back their land. And if you don't, we're going to cut your land ourselves. Now, that's Elon Musk saying that. Now, do I agree with Donald Trump doing that or insinuating that? Hell no, I don't agree with that. But at the same time, African countries had plenty of time to come together, and they have not. And so when you can't come together and you can't really trust anybody in Africa to do these things, this is what's going to happen. It's always going to happen. Elon Musk is going to ride with his boy, Donald Trump. So Elon Musk is going to ride for his white South Africans. And then now we have the Africans threatening to fight back without any ammunition, because we know that the African countries will not stick together. And that's the key. Where is the unity amongst the continent? As we speak, there are multiple countries allegedly in the Congo, still in the same resources, that they're saying that, hey, we're not going to sell to you. But the resources in the Congo are being stolen all the time by other African countries. Not saying that the West doesn't steal. We know that they do steal. They steal a lot. However, you have no leverage. And that's the question that I want to talk about today. When do we feel that African countries will actually have leverage? I would love for African countries to have leverage, but they don't. And this is the reason why people will say a guy like that is calling a bluff. How can we say that? Well, let's look at Russia for an example. The United States, even if they wanted Vladimir Putin to be out, they have a hard time trying to do it. This guy has caused wars all in Ukraine. He's a hassle on the world stage. They can't get to him. And the reason why is because he has a level of trust there in Russia that people won't break it. We do not see any African leader that has the trust in his people to not give him up like Putin does with his group. It's just the God's honest truth. It's not me being mean or being facetious. It's just the truth. There's no African country that will stick by a leader like the Russians stick with Putin. Just can't happen. And you also need to have a very good military and good strategy and all that, and not anybody throwing you under the bus. So what my take on this is, hey, South Africa, it's a good idea. I wish it worked. I'm betting on the fact that it won't work, because even in the economic alliance that you're in, which is BRICS, you have many countries that don't like each other. And just like the African Union, you have many countries that don't like each other, and you can't get anything done. So if the West understands that you can't get anything done in BRICS, which I feel pretty much is not that strong in comparison to the G7 countries and what they have going on, and then also in the African Union, which we also know is not strong, they're going to continue to cut this aid, because you have no ability to fight back. If we're wrong, please show us. But again, I really wish that they could stand on it. I think this is a great stand for South Africa. I think this is a great opportunity for the African country to say, listen, if you guys do that, we're not going to do X, Y, and Z. Just like Canada has stuck up for itself, just like other countries are sticking up for themselves, Colombia, Mexico, South Africa, if they want to be independent, and African countries want to stand on their own too, this is what they need to do. So guys, what do you think? It's your boy O'Shea Jackson back at it again with another episode of Fair Use. I'm out.